debate is itself a mind trick. Gun restriction laws are not actually gun restrictions on everyone. They are only gun restrictions on private citizens, so that gun concentration places a monopoly of force in the hands of the government. This is anti-democratic, for starters. A democracy is based on the fundamental concept that a distribution of power among the many creates a better society. It is the concentration of power among the few, such as what we see in a dictatorship, that leads to corruption and exploitation of the people. Yet the gun restriction debate is essentially a gun monopoly, a gun dictatorship push that seeks to create a government monopoly over firearms. This is a violation of the very tenets of a democratic and fair society. In this way, people who are anti-gun have been tricked by gun restriction politics. A true global anti-gun movement would see governments abandoning the use of force against the people. The armed raids on California raw milk producers, for example, or the use of guns to force parents to vaccinate their children against their will, are all the result of a monopoly of force in the hands of the government. When the government wants to force people to do what it wants, it uses guns. This force will only become more aggressive, more tyrannical, and more dangerous if the imbalance of power is swayed in the government's favor through disarmament of the citizens. The crux of the anti-gun movement, you see, is not to disarm the government. It is to selectively disarm private citizens only, therefore granting what is called a monopoly of violence to the government itself. This is openly revealed as the true purpose of gun restrictions and disarmament legislation: to monopolize the use of force into the hands of the government itself, to hold the people of the world in a perpetual state of surrender to those who control the guns, the governments. And when that happens, history has shown that a monopoly of force often ends in mass murder. In just the last century, armed governments possessing a monopoly on gun control have directly killed over 250 million people on our planet. R.J. Rummel at the University of Hawaii has extensively studied what's called democide, the term describing death by government. According to his extensive research through over 8,000 reports of government-caused deaths, Rummel estimates that there have been 262 million victims of democide in the last century. That's 6 times as many people have died from government-inflicted murder than have died in battle. In other words, if you think war is bad, a monopoly of violence in the hands of government is far worse. If all these bodies, 262 million people, were laid head to toe, with the average height being 5 feet, Rummel estimates they would circle the earth 10 times. This is the body count of gun control. It is the inevitable result of disarming the citizens. When the people cannot defend themselves, the monopolistic power of government sooner or later slips into the hands of a psychopathic tyrant who uses that power to commit genocide. Just as porcupines would be extinct today if they did not have spines, the citizens of America today will soon become victims of government genocide, dubbed population reduction, if they do not retain their own power to launch small projectiles at high speed in a common defense of life and liberty. And because the right to self-defense is a divine right, those who act to erode or nullify such a right are acting in violation of nature and in violation of our Creator. Those who support gun disarmament in any nation do so blindly, creating for themselves the precise conditions that will someday be used by their own governments to murder them. Aurora, Colorado, the site of the Batman movie massacre of 2012, has some of the strongest gun restrictions of any city in the country. One reason the shooter there was able to kill 12 and wound another 58 people is because concealed carry weapons are banned in Aurora. Any citizen who might have fought back with a firearm in the defense of innocent children would have been arrested and charged with felony crimes. This is the ultimate effect of gun control laws: to criminalize those who serve in the protection of life while doing little to stop the psychopathic violent criminals who, by definition, do not abide by gun restriction laws. In banning concealed carry weapons in the hands of legal and lawful owners in their city, Aurora officials created precisely the conditions that allowed a massacre to result in a large body count. They forced the citizens to be defenseless, even while knowing their own police forces could not provide protection to everyone. Aurora may, in fact, have been selected by the shooter precisely because the city's gun restriction laws would practically guarantee a disarmed crowd. Laws that ban concealed carry, it turns out, create what might be called a hunting preserve for psychopaths. I will end this piece with a prayer. May we forever be blessed with the gift of living in an age of peace and sanity and personal responsibility. And yet, should such ideals fail to be embraced by individuals who depart from the realm of rationality, I pray that we may always value, protect, and retain our right to reluctantly but decisively engage in acts of self-defense that protect our persons, our children, our families, and our communities. May we be protected and blessed in our intention to demand the democratic distribution of power that leads to peace. And may we always resist tyranny, the concentration of power in the hands of tyrants, and the prevention of the mass murder of innocents that such concentration of power inevitably produces. I pray that we live in a world where we carry tools of self-defense and yet never need to use them. I pray that we see through the propaganda and the deception of citizen disarmament politics, and that we never again allow our fellow human beings, our brothers and sisters across the planet of every race, color, and religion, to be marched into slaughter zones, into gas chambers, into waiting pits, disarmed and defenseless against government gone bad. In the long run, the protection of innocent life depends on us collectively and for the greater good honoring the individual right to self-defense. Amen.